The history of the atomic structure.
Democritus, what should I say? You, a traveler and a thinker, are always on your way, believing the most outrageous idea that particles called atoms could exist and be real. Even though you are somewhat correct, you lack popularity that had to be met. Your arch enemy, Aristotle, met those criteria, was more popular than you in that era.
Aristotle, hey, of course I know you. Everyone else knows you too. I heard that you didn't agree with Democritus, and you shouldn't. Believe me, I know you wouldn't. You believe that matter is composed of earth, water, fire, and air. So which one would make up this chair? How do you feel that now your ideas were wrong completely, while the non-popular Democritus had hurt feelings? Him being right and you being somewhat wrong, people can make your mistakes into a song.
Hello, I am John Dalton, a British school teacher. Good day, chaps. Yes, I am wearing a dress. It's quite breezy.
John Dalton's scientific research made him weary, but he came up with the atomic theory. All matter is composed of atoms, all alike and the same. Make up elements needed to be remembered, but can be a pain. And able to be created, divided, or destroyed, atoms make up everything you enjoy. He marked the beginning of many ideas, although not all correct. Make sure our appetite for knowledge was surely met.
I see you, Sir William Crookes, standing there, next to that vacuum tube on a chair. That tube which you discovered a light, which was produced from a kind of radiation that night. You set the beginning of experiments with cathode rays that J.J. Thomson used later in the day. J.J. Thomson liked to experiment. Using cathode rays tubes was not a surprise to any gent. Determining that mass was much smaller than the lightest known atom, atoms were divisible, and Thomson's against Dalton's idea won. Coming up with the plum pudding model was his idea of what an atom looked like, was meant to be looked at and not for someone to say and then say psych. Atom charges were spread throughout, could be thought with some doubt.
Robert Millikan determined a charge, even though his popularity wasn't that large. The electron's mass had been found. The next task would be to spread that knowledge around. The mass being 9.1 times 10 to the negative 28 gram. Finding out that number is such a mind cram.
Ernest Rutherford's experiments were widely known, his knowledge very carefully shown. One experiment involving alpha particles in foil, it's hard to rhyme with except the word soil, showed Ernest that his plum pudding model was incorrect. It had the wrong effect. His next accomplishment was the new model of the atom was great. Thus, in 1937, we end the tale of Ernest's fate. This is the gold foil experiment. In the gold foil experiment, Ernest Rutherford shot charged particles at a piece of gold foil. Now, let's watch and see what happens. Ta-da! You see, some went through, most went to the side, and some came straight back.
The last of the physicists was still just as important. His discoveries did not require a warrant. Discovering the neutron was something to brag about, for everyone had wondered about it with some doubt. The neutron having the same mass as a proton, but no charge could be approached upon. Thus we end our entire tale. The history of the atom had prevailed.
Beginning of experiments with cathode rays that J.J. Thomson used later in the day. Okay. Cursor.
That number is such a mind cram. Ernest Rutherford's experiments were widely known, his knowledge every carefully shown. One experiment involving alpha particles in foil is hard.
I just did that.
Yeah.
Where's the other one?
The history of the atom had prevailed.
Starring Lauren Brooks as poem reader number 1 and Heather McDonald as poem reader number 2.
You have learned that everything in the world that takes up space is made of matter. Well, the smallest part of all matter is made up of what scientists call atoms. To understand electricity, you need to understand atoms. Atoms are so small that you cannot see them. Each atom has 3 particles called protons, neutrons, and electrons. Let's learn about these particles so that we can understand how electricity works.
Atoms are so very small, but they contain 3 things. Protons, neutrons, and electrons, they are friends, you see. For protons stay with neutrons in the atom's nucleus, which is the center of the atom. Their friendship is a must.
Now electrons like to move around outside the nucleus. They circle and they jump up